Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, a warm welcome for new U.S. Ambassador to Israel, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Plus, high-stakes negotiations with Iran over its nuclear capability, and why Iran wants to keep its proxies armed. And the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast comes to the City of Gold from May 27th to the 29th, uniting Christians and Jews who share the common goal of blessing Israel. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. The U.S. and Iran held their second round of talks this past weekend about Iran's nuclear program. Many in Israel are concerned the talks may fall short of eliminating Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. Here's our report on that and other stories. This Saturday, the two delegations held indirect talks in the Omani embassy in Rome. Iran set forth its demands.
Illegal sanctions against Iran must be lifted in a firm and verifiable manner, with guarantees to ensure their implementation. Iran keeping its technical and nuclear belongings is a must in this process.
It's this demand that Iran keep its nuclear infrastructure intact that alarms Israel. Israel's Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer and Mossad Chief David Barnea met with lead U.S. negotiator Steve Witkoff in Rome ahead of the talks to discuss Israel's concerns. Israeli officials are worried U.S. demands won't go far enough and demand Iran destroy any ability to enrich uranium to the point where it can be used in nuclear weapons. On Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared Israel's bottom line: Iran's nuclear program has to be destroyed, either peacefully or by military strikes.
I am committed to preventing Iran from having nuclear weapons. I will not give in on this. Neither will I slacken or retreat on this, not even a millimeter.
In Washington, President Trump is sending two messages to Iran. One is talking tough.
And if they have a nuclear weapon, you'll all be very unhappy. You'll all be very unhappy.
Have you spoken with
Your life will be in great danger.
But he's also holding out hope for its future.
I want Iran to be great and prosperous and terrific.
In Jerusalem, America's new ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, arrived last week. Early Friday morning, he came to the Western Wall for his first official act.
What an honor it is for me to come on behalf of the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, and to present a prayer that he handwrote, gave to me last Thursday in the White House, with the instruction that my first act as the ambassador would be to take his prayer, praying for the peace of Jerusalem, with the hope that I would bring it and place it in the wall with the best wishes and the prayers of the American people for the peace of Jerusalem.
He told CBN News what it means to be the first evangelical Christian ambassador to Israel.
Well, it gives me an extraordinary sense of personal joy to have been named by the president as an evangelical Christian believer to take this post. I never get to the point where I don't learn something. I never get to the point where I don't experience something being in this very magnificent place.
On Monday, Huckabee presented his diplomatic credentials to Israeli President Isaac Herzog and said he comes with a sense of awe, like he did when he first came to Israel more than 50 years ago.
An overwhelming sense of awe that I'm in a land that God himself said, "This is mine, and these are my people." I come to stand today with the state of Israel and with the Jewish people because I believe that it is not simply a geopolitical position, but a divine position. We stand with the people of Israel. We stand with Israel, first of all, because we share the values of the Bible. We share the understanding that the Judeo-Christian foundation is the foundation of all of Western civilization. Without it, there is no sense of democracy and love, appreciation, and respect for the individual. But it's also important that Americans know that while we hope to be a good friend to Israel and to provide assistance where we can, I never want Americans to think that we, Americans, are not greatly benefited by our partnership with our ally Israel. We benefit dramatically in the sharing of intelligence, in the sharing of technology, and in the sharing of agricultural innovation, which Israel has led the world in creating. So as we begin our service here, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your kindness, your hospitality. When I walked in and the national anthem of the United States was played, I must tell you, it was deeply emotional for me to hear that song in this land and to be reminded of the incredible bond that exists between Israel and the United States. On behalf of the President and the American people, I thank you for your hospitality, and I welcome the opportunity to serve my President, my country, in partnership with you toward a peace that you truly and most deservedly should have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Pro-Palestinian groups are calling for this day of rage today to protest the ongoing war in Gaza. Israeli officials warn that Jewish travelers around the world could be targeted and violently attacked, as they have been in recent months. They're advising travelers not to display Jewish symbols or signs and to stay away from protest areas. Here in the Middle East, in Gaza, Israel Defense Forces are launching what could be the final push against Hamas strongholds. Flares visible from Israel light up the night sky as the IDF prepares to strike enemy targets. The terrorists have been pushed into more isolated and shrinking enclaves. They're often hiding in the tent cities of Gaza's displaced civilians, putting those civilians at more risk than ever as the IDF goes after the terrorists.
Over the past 72 hours, Israel's Air Force has struck 200 terror targets across Gaza. Amongst those are launch and sniper posts, weapons depots, and terror compounds. Ground forces dismantled terror infrastructure in Rafah, Tel al-Sultan, and Shabora, uncovering weapons caches and eliminating several terrorists.
Even as Hamas announces its plans to recruit 30,000 new fighters, it's having trouble paying those already in the ranks. Hamas was making much of its money by stealing and then selling humanitarian aid, but that cash flow has been drying up since the IDF cut off aid deliveries several weeks ago. Some in Israel advocate ending the war to get the remaining hostages back. But Israel's prime minister says while the return of the hostages is a top priority and negotiations are still underway, Hamas must be crushed to prevent more hostages from being taken in the future.
If we do not complete the destruction of Hamas military and governmental capabilities, the next October 7 and the next kidnappings are only a matter of time. Hamas says they will do it, they intend to do it, and they're working to do it.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up next, analysis about what the Middle East would look like if Iran got nuclear weapons. According to the guests in our next segment, the reason why the stakes are so high in the U.S. talks with Iran is because Iran could potentially mount events much worse than October 7th. It's a chilling prospect. And here's my conversation with defense and security analyst Yaakov Lapin.
Iran is inching, it's crawling its way towards nuclear weapons. And I think it's also important to note, when we talk about the technicalities, why nuclear weapons are so important for the Iranian regime, for this fundamentalist jihadist regime. They want to extend a nuclear umbrella over basically a network or even an empire of proxies, and then use that umbrella to intimidate all of the countries that would be attacked by their proxies. Israel is, of course, the first target, but it would also be Sunni countries like Saudi Arabia, and basically back these proxies as they fight Iran's wars for them. So the 7th of October was a glimpse into what an Iranian proxy war looks like against Israel. Now imagine October 7th with a nuclear Iran, where they have an umbrella, a sort of North Korea in the region, threatening nuclear weapons attacks if their proxies are attacked. And that's what they're after. That's their vision. They view it as a core principle of their attempt to take over the Middle East, destroy the state of Israel, bring down pro-American Sunni governments. And that's just stage one, by the way. They have global aspirations. So this is extremely dangerous for the whole of international security. And of course, Israel is the first target, but by no means the last. This is what they want nuclear weapons for. And that's why it's absolutely vital that they cannot move ahead with that program.
Yeah. You talked about the weapons, the military hardware that's been amassed in the region. How effective can a strike by the U.S. and Israel be on Iran's nuclear program?
Well, if it's a combined strike, I think it would be extremely effective. I mean, the U.S. alone has unmatched, globally firepower. It can bring down really just unprecedented levels of ordnance, munitions, massive, 20,000 bombs, 30,000 bombs, bunker busters that can penetrate very deep into the ground. I mean, the U.S. alone can do this. Now, we've heard President Trump talk about the fact that if this comes to a military operation, he would envisage Israel leading it. And I think that that's a realistic assessment, because I think the administration would want Israel to take the lead role. And Israel itself is absolutely capable. Of course, it has less in the domain of heavy bunker busters, because you need strategic bombers to deliver those. Israel doesn't have strategic stealth bombers like B-2s like the U.S., but Israel has spent years practicing with its F-35s, F-15s, F-16s, drones, and other capabilities on how to deliver its own heavy munitions towards in the direction of nuclear facilities in Iran. Now, another thing that's worth noting is that the Israeli Air Force is the only Air Force that has recently gained experience in taking over Iran's skies. And they did that in October last year in response to a massive Iranian ballistic missile attack. And the IAF was active all over Iran. It was unchallenged. It took out most of Iran's air defenses. It struck a range of targets, including one reportedly that is linked to the nuclear program in Parchin. So the Israeli Air Force has already got its proof of concept. It knows how to get to Iran. It knows how to be active all over Iran's territory if necessary. And I think that was a very important proof of concept that's going to boost the confidence of the Israeli Air Force, the decision makers, the aviators, in terms of capabilities.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Yaakov. Any final thoughts?
Well, I think this is the biggest issue. What we're talking about this morning here is really the biggest issue going forward, because if Iran is denied nuclear weapons, then I think the future of the region is going to, there'll be a good basis for hope that the jihadists will lose. But if Iran is allowed through negligence or failure of policy to become a nuclear weapon state, I think that's going to have a multi-generational and catastrophic effect, first on the Middle East, and then it's going to spread out globally. Iran's going to link up with enemies of America, and we'll have a very dark and dangerous world. So a lot is hanging on this, and this is not just about Israeli security. It's first and foremost about Israeli security, but this is about the future of the world.
According to the guest in our next segment, Albert Wexler, history gets made and miracles happen whenever the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast comes to a city. He's the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast Director and visited our studios recently to fill us in on the upcoming event happening in the City of Gold in May. Albert Wexler, great to be with you again. Director of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and you have the 9th annual coming up in May.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Why is this one coming up so important and so strategic, given all the circumstances in the world today, and especially here in the Middle East?
Well, we are living under this imminent threat of Iran becoming nuclear. We see all these difficult developments taking place, all around the world, of dictatorships trying to take over, radical Islam trying to penetrate into the democratic institutions of the world. And it is the time for people and nations to send their representatives to pray in Jerusalem, in the Knesset, to, I believe, give us a time of reviving, as Ezra 9:8 says, that God gave them at that time. They were under the threat of Persia and whatnot, that God gave them a season, a moment of revival, and secured a place in His holy temple for them.
What does it mean when people actually come here in person and they experience Jerusalem and experience the Jerusalem prayer breakfast?
I believe it's nothing that one can actually experience similar to what one can experience while they come here, because experiencing Jerusalem and being in God's presence together with representatives of other nations, and we've had, 60 to 70 nations represented throughout the years here in Jerusalem. It's something unique. It's biblical, because God's word tells us to pray, towards the holy place here. There's things said by Solomon. God said to Solomon that his eyes and his ears will be here. Again, I know that God would hear prayer from Virginia, but there's something special about Jerusalem. Moreover, remember Daniel. Daniel, despite the threats to be thrown into the den of lions, was praying 3 times a day towards Jerusalem. Why? Because he had a revelation that 70 years of desolation of Jerusalem are ending. And so it was nothing automatic that brought on the steps or the set in motion the things that were about to happen. It was his prayer. And because of his prayer, he was persecuted. It was exactly the same time. It's interesting to notice. Daniel 9 and 6 are both during the first year of Darius, the king. And so when he gets the revelation, he becomes persecuted, threatened not to pray for 30 days. So I thought, if the enemy threatens you not to pray for 30 days, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to pray for 30 days.
Yeah. Finally, Albert, how can people find out about the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast?
www.jerusalemprayerbreakfast.org. And there is a little button there, request an invitation. And we will always reply and send an invitation.
Albert, we look forward to this coming up in May.
And I'm glad you're coming.
Planning on it.
It's going to be powerful.
It's hard for any of us to imagine the upheaval Israeli families have endured since October 7th, especially those who evacuated their homes. Imagine if missiles rained down on your city and you had to flee for safety with your family. For months, that turned out to be more than a year. But thanks to the support of CBN partners, CBN Israel has been able to lend a hand to some of these families and help them get a sense of stability. Take a look.
Mir and his family's home is only 10 miles from the Israeli-Gaza border. They remember the days following the October 7th attack.
There are terrorists running around outside. We were in the shelter for 3 days. I was scared. All the blinds closed. The lights are off. We're in the shelter with the door closed. We're scared.
They were evacuated to Jerusalem, where they found refuge at the Shalva Center. Through a program sponsored by CBN Israel, the center provided food and shelter for Mir's family, as well as therapy for his boys. Because of the fighting, Mir had been unable to work.
The first day we went, we were received with such warmth. As we were attending the program, I realized how much more I need to give my kids. I was given new tools in raising my children. I feel so lucky that we were invited here. So lucky. Because here at Shalva, I learned to be a better father.
In time, Mir was able to return home, but there would be more challenges. One of his sons with autism tried to jump off the second-floor balcony of their home, thinking he could fly. The family had to move into a ground-floor apartment that cost even more. With Mir still out of work, paying extra for rent on top of everything else was overwhelming.
What choice did I have? I can't take the chance and have my kid jump. I can't lose my child. Even though I don't have a job right now to cover my rent and provide for my family. If I can't give them a good living, no one else will either.
CBN Israel stepped in to help and paid 6 months of Mir's rent up front.
Any money that I am able to come up with that I don't have to give to my landlord is money that I can spend on therapies. I can get up tomorrow and know that I can give them something.
Thanks to you, Mir and his family can now have peace of mind in the midst of the ongoing situation in Israel.
This help is such a blessing because I can help my kids. The situation's been tough and I haven't been able to keep up. And this blessing has revived me. It's really resurrected me.
It's a great story. Well, Christians all over the world just celebrated Easter. And an international gathering of thousands came on Resurrection Sunday to Jerusalem's Garden Tomb. It was a glorious celebration with our new ambassador, Mike Huckabee, in attendance. Here's a few moments from the sunrise service, which CBN made available with the live stream for viewers from every continent.
We want to welcome everybody this morning here in Jerusalem, or whether you're joining us online. Throughout the world, the nations are gathering to worship Jesus Christ as Lord and risen Lord today on Resurrection Sunday.
Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no pain or pain. Jesus rose, is the
Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen.
Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering. Though there's pain in his offering, blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name.
But I thank you that in my life, you were so patient with me. In my arrogance, when I just said, it's not for me, and I wanted to walk away, the hounds of heaven chased me down. Lord, I pray that you would do the same thing for literally every man and woman and boy and girl who's hearing these words right now.
Well, the ground began to shake. The stone was rolled away. His perfect love could not be overcome. Come on, now death, where is your sting? Our resurrected King has rendered you defeated. Forever he is glorified. Forever he is lifted high. Forever he is risen. He is alive. He is alive.
Well, what a stirring and inspirational service that morning at the Garden Tomb. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And don't forget to sign up for our email blast so you can continue to receive information on breaking news. And please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem, for the protection of IDF soldiers and all those caught in harm's way, and that all the hostages would come home soon. I'm Chris Mitchell. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time at Jerusalem Dateline.